Hello, I'm Luke, and welcome to another episode of the Vision to Victory podcast, where we discuss practical ways to turn your dreams into reality. Today, I want to talk about the topic of getting unstuck. It seems to me that many people right now are feeling stuck or stagnant in some area of their life. I've been there many times, and I believe it's inevitable that we all feel stagnant at some point. We just don't want to stay there. We've talked a lot about how much of having a sense of well-being about our lives comes simply from making progress. It's not about being at a perfect state or at a perfect place in a specific area of your life. It's just about moving forward. So with that in mind, how do we get unstuck? I believe there's 4 primary areas that we need to focus on. Number 1, take action. Number 2, change your perspective. Number 3, prioritize your well-being. And number 4, seek clarity and support. So I want to break these down. Let's talk about take action. I think this is by far the most important, simply because nothing else happens if we don't take action. Perhaps you've heard the cliche, nothing changes if nothing changes. And while that might sound a little trite, the point is that just doing something in the direction you want to go is always going to be the first step. When it comes to taking action, there are really 3 things that we should focus on. The first is start small. I talk a lot about this. It's so important because if you don't start small, either you won't start at all or you won't stick it out. If you are wanting to get in shape and you're pretty unhealthy right now, the answer is not to go to the gym for 3 hours. The answer is to start taking a walk every day and maybe do a little resistance training for 15 or 20 minutes a day, but do it every day, right? Start small. Focus on one small, achievable next step to initiate movement, to build some momentum. Break down your goals. This is number 2, undertake action here. Break down your goals. I talk a lot about this as well. Take your goals, divide the large, kind of overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable parts. And I always say, this is something that I am very intentional about practicing in my own life, is when I'm doing this, I don't just, if there's something I want, there's a goal in my mind, I found that maybe this is just me, but I found that most things seem distant, or I don't know if unachievable is the right word, 'cause I don't really think that anything is unachievable, but just kind of far off or abstract, and until I take or do the work to work backwards and break it down into manageable steps. And for me, it doesn't become real until I've gotten to the step that I can take now, today. So when I'm breaking down my goals, I make sure that I get all the way to what I can do today, no matter how small. I've talked about this before. When I started this podcast, it seemed a bit overwhelming. If you've ever, created content before, even something as simple as this, just me talking, there's a lot that goes into it. You need the appropriate equipment. You need the appropriate software to do the editing. There's a lot of little things, and that's not even just creating the actual content, what I'm talking to you about. And it seemed it was an unfamiliar space to me. I had not done this before. And so I just made sure that no matter what, because I knew I wanted to do it, no matter what, I was going to do something. So I made a list of kind of everything that needed to be done, all the things I needed to purchase, the equipment, the software I needed, and then I needed to start creating the content itself. And so I made sure that I did one thing every single day, even if it was just buy a microphone, right? Like, no matter what, I was going to do something on that list every day until it all got done. And guess what? It all got done, and there were some days where all I did was just, buy something just because it felt like I was making progress. I knew that that needed to be done. So no matter how small it is, just make progress. So again, you want to start small and then break down your goals into manageable, smaller tasks. And again, for me, that looks like working all the way backwards to what I can do today and what I can do each day. And the third part about taking action, I'm another thing I talk about often, be consistent. Be consistent. It is not the big things in life that really make the ultimate difference of what our lives look like. It's the small things done consistently. Imperfect actions on a regular basis rather than waiting for a perfect moment or trying to, do a year's worth of work in, a month. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable, and that's not what actually builds significant things. So again, take action, start small, break down your goals, be consistent. The second piece, change your perspective. Perspective is so important. Again, another thing that we talk about often here. But even just making shifts in your day-to-day routine, even just making a change often can be positive by itself, even if the change is kind of neutral, if you will. Just shaking up your routine is can be helpful. So under change your perspective, first thing I want to talk about is shake up your routine. Again, make small changes to your daily life outlook. It doesn't matter if it's as simple as rearranging your furniture, taking a different route to work, just something small, shake up your routine. Even just making change often gets us a jump start so that we feel like we're making progress and at least, again, getting unstuck. So shake up your routine and then engage your creativity. Do something creative. Examples of this could be reading. I'm a huge proponent of reading, as you likely know. Uh, could be painting, drawing, cooking, something that gets us out of our kind of linear thinking and engages that part of our mind. So important. And again, it lends us the sense of not being stuck, kind of breaking free of that stagnation. So shake up your routine, engage your creativity, and then gain some new experiences. Do something different, do something new, travel, spend time in nature, meet some new people just to get out of the environment, not just doing something different, but getting out of the same environment all the time. If you feel stuck, maybe it's because you just kind of are in the same places all the time. Uh, and that makes us feel the kind of we attach feelings to places. We often attach habits to places. That's another conversation. But if you can just get out of kind of your not just your routine, but your own environment that you're used to all the time. Again, that's something that can stimulate something inside of us that gains momentum, makes us feel like we're breaking free of that stuck feeling. And finally, under changing your perspective, practice mindfulness. Such a big proponent of this. Whether that's meditation, prayer, spend time alone to connect with your inner voice and get a clearer head. I have found many times in my own life, and I know this is true for the people that are close to me as well. And it's probably true for you too. Our minds can be so busy or distracted, whether that's with, the responsibilities of life or frankly, just technology, our phones, our TVs, whatever it is, that we don't take much time to just hear our own thoughts and just again get a clear mind. Some of the most helpful things I do just to organize my thoughts and figure out what's going on inside of me, uh, even what am I feeling or what am I thinking, or it sounds maybe funny, but oftentimes if I'm feeling stressed or anxious, it's just because I haven't taken the time to just organize my own thoughts, acknowledge any feelings that I might be having, and I just need to create some space for that. One of the best ways I do that is I take a walk, get outside, and just I don't listen to anything. I just I want to just be in nature, which is peaceful for me. Feel the sun on my face and just spend some time inside of my own thoughts to just gain some clarity on what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and to just organize what's going on inside of me. So, again, changing your perspective, shake up your routine, engage your creativity, gain some new experiences, and practice mindfulness. The third thing we want to do is we need to prioritize well-being. I did a whole series on this a few weeks ago. Highly recommend you take a look at it on the topic of well-being. But it's so important. If you're feeling stuck or stagnant, uh, you're probably not taking good care of yourself. And so we need to do that. And look, the number one thing on prioritizing your well-being is move your body. There's so much data to support this. Regular physical activity is so critical, not just obviously to our physical health, but to our mental, spiritual, and emotional health. We are made to move our bodies, and when we don't, we build up tension, stiffness, and uh, the way because it also affects the way that we feel emotionally and mentally. Everything manifests in our body, whether we realize it or not. So stress, anxiety, all those things, they manifest in our body in different ways, whether it's inflammation, or weight gain, all these things. Bottom line, we have to prioritize our well-being. If we're feeling stuck or stagnant, this can uh, have a huge impact if you just start doing regular physical things, right? Just to get some physical activity. Uh, I could break this down in a million different ways, but just do something. Take a walk, uh, depending on where you're at. Maybe lift some weights, do some resistance training, move your body, or find a fun hobby that is physical. That's a great thing to do because you will just look forward to doing it, right? So if you're going to prioritize your well-being, have to move your body. Number two, take care of yourself. And by this, I mean ensure you're getting enough sleep and eating nutritious food. Look, admittedly, I like sweets, right? So I almost on a daily basis will have something sweet just to kind of curb that that craving or just to, kind of scratch that itch, so to speak. But I'm very intentional at this stage of my life to, make sure that I hit a few things in my kind of nutritious needs just to make sure that I'm taking care of my body. And there's some things that you can do. Again, it's a whole nother conversation we have, but ensure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is so important. Arrange your schedule so that you can get a good amount of sleep. Uh, I'm sure you've experienced some version of this, but if I go a day or two or three or four with getting poor sleep for whatever reason, I feel like a zombie. And then, I get a night or two in a row of like really good sleep and I feel like a new person. Sleep is so critical to and much of how we experience life, but also just the version of ourselves that we bring to our life, right? So for me, I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good business owner, a good steward of kind of the people that are in my care. And so, uh, I'm not bringing my best self if I'm not getting enough sleep. And if I'm not, doing these things we're talking about, exercising and eating the right stuff. And so move your body, take care of your food intake and your nutrition, and get enough sleep. And then third, be compassionate. I touched on this last week as well, but when we're talking about well-being, you need to be compassionate to yourself. Acknowledge how you're feeling and practice being compassionate to yourself instead of beating yourself up. I'm so guilty of beating myself up unnecessarily. I've talked about this a lot as well. I'm a perfectionist, and I always I it's easy for me to feel like I'm not doing a good enough job at something or at everything, whatever that is, because I just can feel I can beat myself up and tell myself that I'm not doing as much as I should be doing. And it's so important that we just realize that we're people, we're human, and if someone else was expressing maybe some of the same feelings that we're having, if someone else is expressing those to us, we would be kind to them. We would say, "Hey, me too. It's okay. Like, you know, just move in the right direction. You're doing good." But we beat ourselves up. You know, more times than not, I'm going to be by far the most critical of myself, more than anyone else would ever be. So be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. So again, under well-being, move your body, eat good food, get enough sleep, and then be kind to yourself. And finally, seek clarity and support. So we've got take action, change your perspective, prioritize your well-being, seek clarity and support. And under seek clarity, a big part of this is back to mindfulness. Identify what you want. Take time to clarify what you want to be different and frame it positively. But if you're feeling stuck or stagnant, maybe you aren't clear on what you want out of life. Or maybe, like I said earlier, I sometimes, if I've got a goal, a dream, or a wish, or whatever it is, sometimes it can seem so distant that it doesn't even seem, it doesn't feel real. So I would suggest that you take some time to identify what you really want. Assume that anything is possible. Assume that there is a path from where you are to where you want to be. So take kind of the excuses, the obstacles, whether real or perceived, just take them off the table and just, what would I like my life to look like? What do I want? So we want to identify what we want, and we want to acknowledge our feelings. It's so important, and this is this is a more recent thing that I've learned in my life over the last few years, of just acknowledging what I'm feeling, understanding and acknowledging the specific feelings that I'm having, maybe that are contributing to feeling stuck. And so important that we do this. So I encourage you, again, you have to create space for this, but take time to just, without judgment, without any type of critical lens, just acknowledge what you're feeling, identify it, acknowledge it, feel it, and then move on from there. And if sometimes our feelings can be prompts to change or to do something, but sometimes they're just feelings. And sometimes, we're human. We've got so many different things contributing to how we feel at any given time. I know for me, this is an important lesson to learn, by the way, that I could be in the exact same situation at different times and have two completely different experiences based on any number of factors. I'll give you some really kind of obvious ones. If I am in a situation and I'm well rested, well fed, have maybe done my exercise for the day, have spent time in prayer and meditation, I'm going to experience that situation one way. And obviously, if I got very little sleep, haven't eaten, and I'm hungry, and I haven't created space for me to, have time to myself in some sort of prayer or meditation, I could experience the same situation completely different, which means that I will feel differently. That doesn't change the situation. All that is just me either taking care of myself or not. And so I say that because it's important that we acknowledge our feelings, and sometimes our feelings might be telling us, like, I didn't get enough sleep, like, hey, you're kind of crabby right now. probably didn't get enough sleep, maybe need to eat something. But either way, we want to acknowledge our feelings and then take the appropriate action and move forward. When we leave things unacknowledged, it creates anxiety and it creates stress. And this is why I'm such a huge advocate for uh, creating space to, again, clear your head, understand what's going on inside you, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and then you can move forward with clarity. And the third piece under seek clarity and support is the support. Talk to someone, a trusted friend, family member, mental health professional, whatever it is. It's so important that we do life with someone, even if, again, even if it's a therapist or whoever it is, we don't want to be left to our own thoughts and just kind of our own internal dialogue. That's not a good way to do life. And no matter how smart you are, no matter how even how healthy you are, although that can obviously be a positive thing in this regard, no matter how much you think you know, we all need to process with people. If nothing else, just to get it out so that stuff doesn't get bottled up inside of us. But oftentimes it's just great to have someone else to bounce things off of or to just help lend perspective. And so uh, talk to someone about what you're feeling, where you're at, and just make sure that you have support from someone that you can trust. So getting unstuck, take action, change your perspective, prioritize your well-being, and seek clarity and support. I want to tell you that you can get unstuck right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Right now, you can get unstuck in your life. You can make a choice to do something different. Do something different, do something positive, no matter how small. In fact, make it something small. Small things done consistently are what truly shape our lives. This is uh, a fact. And I want to give you a couple quotes here. You may have heard this one. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. No matter where it is that you want to go or what you'd like to do in your life, it's true that everything significant and worthwhile in life starts small. Now, I want to give you a quote that's kind of been a guiding principle for me over the last several years. And it's this: it's the things that no one sees that lead to the life that everyone wants. In other words, it's the small daily habits that no one sees that lead to a life that's worth living. So I hope today you choose to take a small step and get unstuck. If this was helpful for you, I hope you share it with somebody. Talk to you next week.